Hi guys, I'm here to talk to you about my new show where I review albums while in quarantine. So pretty much the exact same as I've been doing before, but now I'm actually in quarantine for it. And today on this debut episode, I'm going to be looking at the debut LP by French deathcore gent metalcore band Sunquake. So, Sunquake is a band from Lyon, France, and this is their debut album, Amaranthe. Sunquake actually started off a while back in 2014 when they launched their debut EP, Pandemonium. And with that, they got huge success with it, becoming the #1 band in the deathcore gent metalcore category on Bandcamp. And because of that, they ended up touring Europe, Asia, America, and then afterwards they decided to take a year off and work on this new full-length release, Amaranthe. So, to start off, I'd like to talk about one of the singles they put out in anticipation for this album, and that one was actually their title track, Amaranthe. Now, my opinion about deciding to put your title track as your single is saying that you're willing to put your best work forward, because technically your title track is representing what this album is giving forward. So on my first run through of this single, I thought the intro was really interesting. It had a very cool orchestral thing, adding in Japanese elements into the mix, and then went into a really groovy sort of riffy section with dual vocalists. And then from there, I ended up getting a bit lost with moments where I thought I knew what was being played and was understanding where I was in the track. But then after a couple of more listens, I was able to peel back the layers, and it actually impressed me the more I listened to it, which I think is a very good sign that a track can grow on you over time. Screaming vocals that definitely reminded me a lot of I Valence, especially the high screams, and the low screams definitely reminded me of this other band from Australia called Dawn of Leviathan, which you should go check out because they're actually a really cool band. Overall, for a single, I quite liked it. I liked the contrast between the two vocalists with the highs and the low screaming style. I liked the guitar playing contrast as well, where they definitely had their technical moments, but then also sort of stripped it back, went for a more clean, groovier sections as well, just to give sort of the brain some time to process what they're listening to. And to sum it up, I thought it was a pretty of a standard deathcore song that any deathcore kid could get into. So that's my opinion on that. And I would also say this is in my opinion, the heaviest track of the album as well, besides another track I'll talk about later called Titan. When we look at the main body of work, I found that the style and the vibe that the band shows off is a bit different. It actually is more towards the metalcore and gent side of the musical spectrum. That is shown in the tracks that follow with songs like Astral Solid, which has more ambient, gent vibes, a lot more atmospheric, and definitely pushing a sort of metalcore style instead. The other single that actually came out for this album, Snakeskin, follows this sort of same procedure, where it's more metalcore and gent inspired, and moments in the album that definitely felt more like the previous review I did of the band Invent Animate, moments of Northlane inspired work, as well as I would say another influence would be Era, which is very much a gent metalcore sound. And even the more technical side of playing was definitely more inspired by the whole sort of technical gent area. Even though they try to retain this sort of gent, atmospheric, ambient vibe that's more melodic, there's times when they still put back in the sort of dissonant side with adding like these very dissonant guitar lick passages that are very reminiscent of Rings of Saturn, as well as like interesting sort of guitar noises as well. And For me personally, I didn't think these things were very necessary to put in because in a way it sort of just interrupted the music sometimes and took you out of the moment, especially when you have these long sort of like pretty much standard gent metalcore sections and then just breaking it up with this very out of nowhere sort of Rings of Saturn moment. For me, I didn't really like it that much, but it does add kind of flavor to the overall sound. As the album keeps going, it brings in more synthetic and atmospheric elements, and it's definitely slowly is going down the path of metalcore, gencore, and so on. There's one exception to this with the song Titan, which actually goes back to this more heavier going towards deathcore. Side, it has its breakdowns and things, and actually reminded me a bit of The Sinner by Memphis Mayfire, like really old school song with the main riff in it. And then the album ends with their sort of 14.5 minute long epic, which I guess is sort of a thing that a lot of bands like to do. They're actually very difficult to like make good. I think the best example of a 14+ minute long song that actually was able to keep my attention for that whole time without getting boring was Reptile by Periphery. And saying that, even in their closing song Umbra, they had moments where they actually sounded like Periphery with their breakdown selection when it comes to the writing side. When it comes down to it, this band does have a lot to offer in that you can see that clearly being represented in this album, where it has a lot of elements, it's got a lot of genres being incorporated into the music, and it does make me excited and anticipate sort of like what the projects they will come up with after this and moving forward, because there's a lot that can come from this. So my only real criticisms are that I kind of wish there was more tracks like Amaranthe and Titan. Ending track, their 14-minute long epic, I thought they didn't have to be 14 minutes long. I think they could have shortened it a bit. I'm not holding against them, like writing a song with that length, it's very difficult to have a song that long. I would also like to see more orchestral stuff in the album, especially like the more Japanese inspired instrumentation, because I think they were using a koto within the album. And on top of that, I think for a debut album, it is actually quite good. It gives a lot, it shows the capabilities of the band quite well and what they are able to do when really putting together an entire LP, and I do look forward to see what they have in store for the future. Yeah, for a debut album, yeah, it's definitely up there. And now I'm going to quickly run through some more music suggestions that I had in mind that I just discovered like in the past week. And starting off, we have a new Malevolence with this track Remain Unbeaten. Make Them Suffer debuting the single for their upcoming album, Raise Me. And if you haven't been in Iraq, we have probably one of the best soundtracks that just came out, and that's the Doom Eternal soundtrack. So if you like probably one of the best gaming soundtracks, definitely go check that out. If you're into technical death metal and you like bands such as The Faceless, Beyond Creation, but you want something even heavier than that, then you have to go check out this band called Beneath the Massacre, which put out the album Fearmonger. And for something a bit different that's not even metal at all, there's this album known called Perceiving All by Symbolico, which is a sort of combination of world music, electronic, and sort of a chill wave vibes. So I definitely recommend that album as well. Good week for music as always. And with that, I would like to say thank you for watching as always. Thank you for your support. Music's going to be in the description. Yeah, I will see you soon for more quarantine reviews. But until then, cheers guys, stay safe.